D-Mark got that heat.
All right. We are back, guys, with No Filter MMA. I told you guys that in 2019, I was bringing you nothing but heat. Once again, I am joined by my friend, Gillian Robertson, coming off of a huge win over Veronica Macedo. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just still on top of the world from this weekend. It's just been a wild ride, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you definitely held true to your name out there this past weekend. That was a savage performance. Absolutely. Walk us through that.
The game plan was the same from the beginning. Just was going in there, getting my takedowns. She definitely gave me some trouble. I feel like she was very explosive on the ground and just moved almost awkward compared to what I'm used to. She was just different to deal with, but I was still able to go in there and execute what I wanted to do was get the choke. I'm always hunting for the neck. I'm always looking for that, and I was able to get it in the end.
Absolutely. So we'll get to the Veronica Macedo fight, but I got some questions that I want to ask Julian. Some questions that I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. So how does it feel to always have to travel abroad? Like you've been traveling abroad a lot ever since the Tough finale. All of your fights have been away. How does that feel?
It's definitely cool to be able to travel around. I've fought in Liverpool, then Sao Paulo, now Prague. But it's also, it has its own challenges. I feel like just having to cut weight in a different country is an experience on its own. It's like, especially being in Brazil, or it's like just the language barrier adds to it. When I have to tell them I can't have any salt on this, or and just things like that, it's hard to explain all the time. And so it definitely has some challenges, but it's also, like I said, I love the travel. It's awesome to see the world like that.
Absolutely. But one thing I noticed about you, Jillian, is that you don't like to stick around in those countries. You like to get back home.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I feel like after my fight camp, like I put so much time and energy into my fight camps that I'm just so tired the week after. Like I just want to get home and sleep, and I get back to my dog.
Yeah, I hear that. Most definitely. Most definitely. Let's see, wait a minute, hold on. This isn't live, so we're good. I can go back and edit this, but people are like blowing me up with questions. All right. So how does it feel to be doing so well in the UFC after losing on The Ultimate Fighter? Because I mean, you're one of those fighters that obviously when you lose a fight, you're you're either way, you win or lose, you're very emotional after the fight. So you must really be on top to be so successful in the UFC so far with losing on The Ultimate Fighter.
Well, of course, anytime I win in a fight, it's all I work for. It feels great. And I know on The Ultimate Fighter, I had a really tough matchup. Being Barb Honchak, my first matchup, she was coming off being the Invicta champion. She was the top pick to win the show originally. And it was definitely a very tough matchup. So it's like I knew that she wasn't like a slouch, She I knew I was still ready to be in the UFC even after that matchup.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of brings me to this question that I had wrote down, Jillian. It seems like, you know, being on the, I do podcasting, so on the podcasting scene, it seems like a lot of you girls from that particular season of the Ultimate Fighter, it's like you guys get a bad rap. And I did a video on you and Montana De La Rosa being like the dark horses of the girls who come out of the Tough House, because you two are the most successful girls out of the Tough House. You know what I'm saying? So my question is, my theory was that it was because of who won that season and how all that whole played out. But why do you think you girls don't get a whole lot of respect in that division?
Oh, I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of like whenever the 115ers went through the Tough House too. I feel like a lot of them, it's just a lot of the bigger girls in the division don't really have time for the Tough House. So whenever they're saying that we're the top 16 girls in the world, they know that it's not necessarily accurate. Like Shevchenko didn't try out for that. There's like a lot of girls who were already in the UFC who just sort of said, why would I do that? I'm just going to wait for the 25 division. I feel like those are a lot of the top girls in the divisions right now. But it's also, you see a lot of the tough girls still mixing it up in the top 15, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So with you, for you, actions are just speaking louder than words, because you're going in there and you're doing what it is that needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? You're winning fights. That's great. How did it feel what was your immediate emotions, especially coming off of a loss, getting that submission win? Because we know you always hunting for the submission. How did it feel to get that submission win?
Well, it's like, for me, literally, this is all I do. This is what I put 100% of my time into. Like, I don't really, it's like you said, I do get emotional, and it's because I just put so much into it. It's like, this is my life, and this is everything that I am. So to have the win is just, it really does mean the world to me. I feel like there's no better feeling than getting your hand raised, and there's no better feeling than even, like, I just love being in the cage in general, win or lose. So to be able to come out with the win is just, it's incredible.
Well, you've been with you being a jiu-jitsu girl, you've been facing some strikers, and you've been eliminating these strikers. I mean, you took out Molly McCann, you took out Veronica Macedo. How does it feel to, because it seems like, to the casual fans out there, when you see the striker versus grappler matchup, people automatically think the grappler is going to lose. How does it feel being paired up with all of these Taekwondo black belts and boxing champions? How does that feel? Does that just make you implement your game plan just even that much more?
No matter what, I feel like even going against grapplers, I feel like my jiu-jitsu is always gonna be there for me. But Veronica's a brown belt on the ground too, so it's not like she's like, she knows what she's doing down there too. So it's like she was definitely some trouble. But I feel like no matter what, especially being a smaller size girl, striker versus grappler, I see the grappler always winning, because just to be my size and develop that kind of knockout power, there's very few girls in the world who even have it. And like, I've sparred with hundreds of girls, and there's very few girls that I can say, no, what, that girl can definitely put me down. Like, she has that power, because it's just so hard when you're this small. Like, a heavyweight guy can just kind of throw their fist and be able to get the knockout, where as smaller girls, we don't really have that option. So I feel like jiu-jitsu will always be more effective, in especially in the girls' divisions.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's what we're seeing. Absolutely. So you winning this fight tied you with Montana De La Rosa with most finishes in the flyweight division. How do you see that as like a potential matchup? I mean, you guys are two very slick grapplers. You girls are ferocious in the octagon. How does that feel as a potential matchup?
I definitely see the UFC looking at that as my next matchup. Like you said, we both are tied for the most finishes. We're both younger girls. I believe she's 23 as well. So it's like we're both very I feel like it would be definitely a good matchup for me, and I would be excited for that one.
Okay. All right. So I have a question from another podcast. I mean, these guys write articles from One Up MMA. He wants to know, since you haven't fought in Canada yet and been in the UFC, would the Ottawa card be a card you would like to be on?
Oh yeah, of course. There's a couple cards right now that I'm looking at that I would love to be on. I know there's UFC Miami coming up in April. Of the Ottawa card, where I would love to, and then also there's a Glasgow card coming up where both my parents were born in Scotland, so I'd love to go visit there. So all three
Okay.
of those, anyone I'd be down to. I just want to get a quick turnaround.
I hear you. I hear you. So we heard you call out Paige Van Zandt. What was that? Tell us about why you want to fight Paige.
I just feel like I feel like she's a very good matchup for me. I feel like like I would be able to get my takedown and I'd be able to get my submission. And she's someone who's a big name. She's someone that if you do get that fight, there's a lot of publicity behind it, and that's something that I need to get myself out there, get my name out there, so that I can show everybody what I'm capable of.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good answer. So you train at ATT, which is ATT is a very renowned gym. There's a lot of success coming out of ATT right now. How does it feel to be coming from such a good gym and, your close relationship? You've made that clear that you and Dean Thomas, you guys have a very close working relationship. How does that feel?
Being at ATT, it's like we have all the best girls in the world there. So just the amount of training partners we have is incredible. But Dean Thomas is my head coach. He's my main coach. He's really the only coach I work with. He, like I said, I've worked with him since I was 16 years old. So he's been there from the beginning. Like I was doing cardio kickboxing just with like a bunch of soccer moms in the class, kind of like I was just a little 16-year-old girl in the middle of it. And then he took me under his wing there, and I've been working with him since then. And so he's the reason I'm in the UFC,
Okay. So GILLIAN, what does the Savage do for fun? What does the Savage do on a weekly basis when she's not training to fight?
Think about training. I honestly, like, this is so much of my life. Like, these next few days, I'm going to relax a little bit. I'm going to just, like, I don't train much in the gi anymore, so I'm going to play around in my gi a little bit, just have some fun with jiu-jitsu and just light training. I like to read a lot. I meditate a lot and visualize and just think about, like, I feel like the mental aspect of the game is such a big part, and so many people neglect it, and that's the reason why I win my fights.
What's on your playlist right now, GILLIAN? What's in your car right now?
I honestly, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So I listen to like a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, a lot of just different things and mental motivation things.
Okay. All right. That's what's up. That's what's up. So when you fight, some of these girls at 125, like Sajara Eubanks, like some of these girls are having trouble making 125. How easy? Because I know you used to fight at strawweight. Is that correct? You fought Cynthia Calvillo at strawweight. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I feel like whenever I first started fighting, I was 18 years old when I had my first amateur fight. So just through like me growing up and maturing in general, I grew up, like I used to walk at 115, 117. I used to never cut weight to go to strawweight. I actually fought at 105 as an amateur before because I was a lot smaller back then. And then I feel like once I turned 21, I just grew up a lot. I was able to put on muscle, and now I walk like 145, 150. So it's just big difference from back then. And so I definitely feel comfortable at flyweight. I feel like that's where I belong. Like this was probably like it's not an easy cut, but it's not a tough cut either. I feel like it's absolutely perfect for me. There's definitely some bigger girls, but I believe like Sajara, I believe just moved up to bantamweight now. She announced that, and it's like I feel like that's right for her. It's like she was a big girl, and the cuts aren't good for your body. It's not healthy for you in general. Like to just to do this to ourselves, to how like so many girls make such a huge cut. It's not good for you. And I feel like that's the problem with the Tough House, is that you have to do that so many times in a row. And I feel like that's why Nico and Sajara have both had problems making weight since then, is because the like cutting weight 3 times in a row just isn't healthy.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Speaking of, your season on Tough, there's a lot of veterans in that weight class. You have like Liz Carmouche, you have Valentina Shevchenko. How does it feel? How do you feel you stack up against those girls? Because I think that's the biggest reason why the girls from Tough don't get a lot of rap, is because there's so many, ex bantamweights and ex straw weights that have been in the UFC for so long in that weight class. How do you feel as the new kid on the block, you right along with like Montana De La Rosa, how do you feel you stack up against that competition?
I feel like my style of jiu-jitsu and my game plan is I could be a threat to any girl in the division. Like I have potential to put any girl out, and I know that within the next maybe even sooner, within the next year or two, that belt can be mine. It's just I just gotta hone my skills.
Okay, all right. The Savage is coming out. The Savage is coming out. All right. Well, Gillian, I'm not going to keep you for too long. I just wanted to get some questions asked that I've been dying to ask you for such a long time, and you've answered the majority of them, and I really do appreciate you coming on. So, what do you do? So, going into your next fight and your future fights from now on, what is your message to the flyweight division?
Like I said, I feel like I'm a threat to every girl in the division. My style is just too dangerous. I can put any girl out, and I know that I'm going to be on the top soon enough. So it's just climbing my way up there. I'm ready to fight anyone.
Well, you guys heard it here first. You have it. Gillian the Savage Robinson. Gillian, before I let you go, let me get a drop. I want to hear this is Gillian the Savage Robinson, and you are live with No Filter MMA.
This is Gillian the Savage Robertson. You're live with No Filter MMA.
Oh, we got it on the first try. Go ahead and give a shout out to your coaches and your sponsors, and I'm going to let you get out of here, Gillian.
Dean Thomas, my head coach, and I want to give a shout out to Kayla Rocco. She was my corner while I was at UFC Prague. My sponsors, Creating Better Days CBD, FTWR brand, where you can get your Savage shirt, show your support, and Chef Fit meal plans. And if you want to follow me at Savage_UFC on Twitter and Instagram, that'd be awesome.
All right, we got it. Thank you so much, Gillian.
And thank you.